welcome to this edition of the Laurel FireWatch. I'm your co-host, Richard Blankenship. And today I'd like to take just a couple seconds here to welcome Paul Kirkpatrick back from his medical issues. He's all straightened out now, kicking it pretty good. So Paul, will welcome you back, and it's a pleasure always working with you. Today's program today, we want to talk about preparing for bad weather. We want to talk about state laws pertaining to school buses, people going around them like they're not supposed to. We're going to review fire extinguishers today. Not many people get to talk about that too much. And we're going to also talk about smoke detectors and new changes coming out here January of this year. And we want to bring you up to date on that. And we're also still getting people questioning about how come sometime when they call for an ambulance, sometime a police officer show up or somebody else might show up or a fire truck before the ambulance gets there. We just want to discuss that a little bit and just put you at ease on that. So the first thing I want to talk about is a new law coming into effect in 2018, and the Maryland law that requires all 9-volt battery smoke alarms to be replaced with the 10-year lithium sealed battery. Now once this is installed, you only have to check it monthly. You won't have to replace the batteries like we do now with the 9-volt every 6 months. Every time we change the clock, we also tell you to change the batteries in your smoke alarm. So we're getting away from that. We've had numerous fires over the years where people died in fires because they didn't have an operating smoke alarm or they've taken the batteries out of them, and that's just not a good thing. We don't want to lose people. If we can get that down to zero loss and fire deaths in the state of Maryland and through this country, that's a good thing to do. But let me just show you a little demonstration of the 10-year sealed smoke alarms. Now the 10-year smoke alarm looks something like this. It does have a test button on it, as you can see here. It is functional, but it's kind of like 3 different pieces that come together. And let me show you that. Here we have a base plate. This is mounted on your ceiling, or at least 12 inches down from the ceiling on the wall. Remember, you always want to go at least 12 or 16 inches down. If you ever notice in your house, you get cobwebs in the corner, that's because there's no air circulating around that part of the ceiling. And if it's up too high, it's a possibility that the smoke alarm will not activate. And on the back, it has here, it says insert this side up. That's the battery. Once you install this in, you can't take it out. That's why I can't show you what the battery looks like. But it's a 10-year sealed battery. Like I said, once you put that in, unit operates. When you purchase these at the store, they'll have a date on them, when they were made. That's the date you want to go by, not the date that you purchased it, the date that it was manufactured. 5 or 10 years from that date. And then all you have to do is mount it, put it in, twist it, lock it, and it's good to go. And it's good for 10 years. Then all you do in 10 years, you can come back, take this off, pop another one, most likely it'll go right back in the same plate, and you're ready to go again. But nobody should ever be in a residence and not have a functional smoke alarm. They're cheap, they're not that expensive, and they do save lives. And that's why we require you to have the 10-year. Once you get these, if you cannot install them yourself, you can contact your local fire department or rescue squad, or you can contact the fire marshal's office at the city, and somebody will be happy to come out and install these for you. We want to make sure you have an operating smoke alarm. Most of the time, when our men and women go out there and do their EMS or fire, a lot of times they check the smoke alarms while they're there just to make sure that you have a functional smoke alarm. And that's what we want to make sure. We don't want to leave knowing that you don't have one. And if they check it and it's not working, they will replace it. Like I said, we want to make sure you have one. Okay, a lot of people, when you walk around at your office, could be at home, shopping centers, they notice these things here called fire extinguishers. They come in various sizes with various weights and different amount of chemical inside each one. But each one of these fire extinguishers that you see are limited to use. And what I want to talk about is what these things really do. Maybe you understand, you see it, but you don't understand what it does or how it works, and that's what we're going to talk about today. One of the things you have to understand that all fires start small. And what we want to do by having an extinguisher in our home or on our job is to make sure it stays small. But the thing you have to understand, for this thing the way it works and why it does what it does. To have a fire, you have to have three things. You have to have fuel, you have to have a heat source, and you have to have oxygen. So all three of these together combined, they have a little reaction, and it causes to have a fire. If you remove any one of these three of the triangle, you cannot have a fire. It just don't work. It's not going to happen. And then we have classes of fire. We have what we call a Class A, which is wood, paper, those kind of things, ordinary combustible stuff. We have what we call Class B, which is flammable liquids, gases, those things. And then we have what we call a Class C fire, which is electrical. Now the extinguisher I'm showing you here, this is an ABC extinguisher. And what it means by ABC extinguisher, you can use it in all three classes. The thing is, if it was only like an A extinguisher, which usually is just pressurized water, you wouldn't want to put that on a grease fire. Never put water on grease. They just don't mix. If you notice here, it has these little symbols on them for A, B, and C. That tells you that you can use this on that type of fire. It has a little gauge. It has a red little number thing in there and a green. As long as it's in the green, that means this is ready to go. It's function. Now, you should pick one of these up once in a while you're at work or somewhere and just look at it and see what it says. See what the symbols are in your place of work. So if something happens at your place of work, or if you're in a mall somewhere, at least you understand what's going on, is how to use these things. They're not hard to use, but you just have to make sure that it has these symbols. So if you go somewhere, if it's a trash can on fire, you know this fire extinguisher, because it says right here A would be ordinary, you can use this extinguisher. And the way this works, the only thing that you ever have to remember is called PASS, P-A-S-S. Means you pull the pin out, which this will come out, okay? Aim your nozzle, which will come off here, and aim it at the fire. B, you will squeeze the handle down. At that time, the content inside here is under pressure, is going to come out, and then the other one is S, but pass the sweep. Sweep back and forth like that until the fire goes out. Once the fire is extinguished, you can stop, and then when you get done, you back away from it. Do not ever turn your back on any fire, because you can have what they call flashover. You can notice a couple months ago we did a show with the pot of food on the stove and how that flashed back over. That can happen to you. So always back away from the fire, never turn your back on it. No matter how big the fire is, always call 911. Let them come out and check it, make sure that the fire is completely out, and then we'll know. Do not assume that the fire's out and let it go. Like I said, always call 911. That's a very important thing to do. Now, I know that the City Fire Marshal's Office has a fire extinguisher prop. If any of your organizations would like to practice fire extinguishers or have a class, you can contact the City Fire Marshal's Office at 301-725-5300 and ask for the Fire Marshal's Office, and we'll be happy to set up a schedule for you that you can come up and we can do a program for you.
I'm Dan Sheffield. I'm your co-host with the Laurel FireWatch. Today we want to talk about driving safely around school buses in and around neighborhoods. And in the state of Maryland, there's many of our school vehicles and school buses some of them have cameras, and all of them have red flashing lights. And it's a state law requirement that you have to stop for a school vehicle with red flashing lights. And these are the most critical areas. When approaching a school bus vehicle from the back, often you'll see a yellow warning signal before the red lights come on. You must stay at least 200 feet behind the school bus when it stops, and at least 200 feet from in front of the school bus when approaching it from the front. School zone driving safety tips. Be on the lookout for school zone signals and always obey the speed limits. When entering the school zone, be sure to slow down and obey all traffic laws. Always stop for school buses that are loading or unloading children. Watch out for school crossing guards and obey their signals. Be aware of and watch out for children near schools, bus stops, sidewalks, in the streets, school parking lots, shopping center parking lots, everywhere. Never pass school vehicles when driving through a school zone. Never change lanes when driving through a school zone. Never make U-turns when driving in a school zone. Never text when driving in a school zone. Avoid using cell phone unless it's completely hands-free while driving in a school zone. unless licensed to do so. Never use handicap or emergency vehicle lanes or spaces to drop off or pick up children at school. A concern to us right now is Hurricane Harvey down in Houston, Texas, in the Texas area, as well as Hurricane Irma, who's now approaching Florida as we record this episode here today. One thing I want to bring to your attention is in the city of Laurel, we have an emergency preparedness guide that's available to help citizens prepare for such emergencies. Right now, we're not in harm's way for these particular storms as they come up, as Irma comes up the East Coast, but it doesn't necessarily say that we're totally out of danger. And you should always have a plan and always be prepared. And this guide right here, the City of Laurel Emergency Preparedness Guide, is available at the City of Laurel, and you can contact them for additional information.
I'd first like to say that our cable show, we've been doing this for a number of years now, and it's all done by volunteer personnel. And today, you know, we trust new props today. And I'd like to call a gentleman out there to the front that gave us a hand today. His name is Matthew. Matthew, come on out here and look at the camera. What's your name? Matthew what?
Murphy.
Matthew Murphy. And you know why he's here? Is that Matthew is the son of Mike Murphy and Mama T. They're both members of this organization. Mike is a life member of this department. And Mama T is on the board. And last year she was a lieutenant in charge of VMS. And that's why the kids come down here with them. They're learning a lot. I'm assuming you want to be a firefighter someday?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And I just want to say personally thank you for coming out and helping us out today. We appreciate your help. Thank you. Again, we talked a little bit about school bus safety and stuff like that. It's very important that we pay attention to that. But also when we talk about safety, you have to watch out for our personnel, our fire and EMS personnel. Many times over the years, police officers, firefighters, EMS people are struck by cars because people don't pay attention. Please, when you're traveling the roads in Maryland, and especially around the city of Laurel, please be aware of our personnel out there, our police officers, our first responders, and also our public service people, the trash truck guys and stuff like that. Last year, we had one of our first-time employees killed in the line of duty in the city was struck by a car while doing his job. Please pay attention to your surroundings. And when these are people right there doing their job, making it safe for you to be here or make it comfortable for you to be living here, please look after them. And that's our safety tip for the day. But also, Danny brought up some good points about the hurricane. We'd like to take just a second or so, or a few minutes really, just a minute maybe, just to have a little prayer for those people down there having some difficult times. You know, we're here today, nice weather, and down there, you know, people are leaving their homes and stuff like that, not sure they'll have something when they go back. So let's just have a little prayer for them. Lord, just look over these people and help them with their time of need and keep everybody safe, and especially our public officials and also our fire and EMS personnel and police officers and people like that. Thank you. Okay, this month in October, coming up, the Laurel Volunteer Fire Department will be celebrating 115 years of service to the community of Laurel and the surrounding counties. Also this month in October coming up, we'll be having an open house. Please feel free to come to this open house. Just check the newspapers. You'll see something in there what the date's going to be. Don't really have the date yet when they're going to do that, but I know it's sometimes like the second or third week in October. There's a lot of things going on here about fire safety, a lot of things for the kids, and it's a good time for everybody. So thank you for your time for this edition of the Laurel FireWatch. Again, I'd like to welcome my man Paul back. Paul's been a good friend over the years. He does a lot for this department. He's one of the guys in the background. A lot of times they don't get the recognition that he does, and we definitely thank him for that. And we'll see you next month on the Laurel FireWatch.